You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Feel like who art Ed?
Try to slice it.
Who art is Mr. Wood, art Ed me?
Good. Either way, it's ambiguous. It works on so many levels.
I know.
That's off to a great start.
Welcome to Who Arted, weekly art history for all ages. I'm your host, Kyle Wood. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Salon des Refusés. Paris in the mid-1800s was the undisputed center of the art world, or at least the people of Paris felt that way. The city was known as an art hub, but the real center of it all was the Paris Salon. This wasn't just any art show, it was the art show. Officially sanctioned by the Académie des Beaux-Arts, it was the gatekeeper for artistic success. The gallery system was in its infancy, so artists really relied on the salon as the primary means of showcasing their work for the public, gaining notoriety and validation that would lead to lucrative commissions. Rejection from the salon was devastating, not only to the artist's ego, but also their career. The Salon was a massive, sprawling exhibition held annually, or sometimes biennially, in the Louvre. Artists from all over France, and indeed Europe, submitted their works, hoping for the coveted stamp of approval. But the selection process was notoriously rigid. The jury, composed of members of the Academy, favored traditional styles, historical paintings, portraits, and idealized landscapes. They liked the polished, finished works that adhered to established norms. And here's where the frustration began to boil. As the 19th century progressed, new artistic ideas were emerging. Artists were becoming more interested in portraying everyday life, experimenting with looser brushstrokes, and exploring effects of light and color. Think of the Barbizon school with their focus on plein air painting, or the burgeoning realist movement, determined to depict the world as it was, not how it was thought to be, or should be, or could be. These artists, pushing boundaries of tradition, found themselves increasingly rejected by the Salon jury. Year after year, their works were deemed too unconventional, too unfinished, too modern. Imagine the humiliation, the dashed hopes, but also the financial hardship. Artists poured their hearts and souls into their creations only to have them dismissed out of hand, not even viewed by the public. By 1863, the situation had reached a breaking point. The Salon's jury rejections were so numerous and so controversial that public outcry began to grow. Artists, critics, even members of the public were demanding change. And then a pivotal figure stepped in. No less than Emperor Napoleon III. Perhaps sensing the growing discontent, and also wanting to project an image of open-mindedness, he made a bold decision. Napoleon decreed that the rejected artists would be allowed to exhibit their works in a separate exhibition, alongside the official salon. This exhibition became known as the Salon des Refusés, the Salon of the Rejected. It opened on May 15th, 1863, in a section of the Palace of Industry, the same building that housed the official salon. And it was an instant sensation. Crowds flocked to see works that had been deemed unworthy by the Academy. They wanted to see what all the fuss was about, and what they saw was shocking. To them, at least. To us, it would be just pretty standard. Works by artists like Paul Cézanne, Camille Pissarro, and James McNeill Whistler were on display. The painting that caused the biggest stir, though, was Edward Manet's A Luncheon on the Grass. It depicted a nude woman picnicking with two clothed men in a contemporary setting. You see, nudes in art may be common throughout history, but largely it was acceptable in these historical paintings, these works based on mythology and classical references, not the contemporary setting. It was off-putting to people. The subject matter, the loose brushwork, the direct gaze of the nude figure, it was all just too scandalous for the crowd at the time. Critics were merciless. They ridiculed the, quote, unfinished quality of the paintings in the alternative salon and the perceived lack of technical skill. Some called the artists incompetent, others revolutionary. But the public, they were fascinated. They were drawn to the novelty, the audacity, and just the difference of these works. It was something fresh, new, and exciting. The Salon des Refusés, despite the critical backlash, was a watershed moment. It exposed the rigidity of the Academy and the growing divide between traditional and modern art. It gave a platform to artists who were pushing the boundaries of creativity, and it demonstrated that there was a public appetite for new and challenging art. While the Salon itself may have been short-lived, its impact was profound. It helped pave the way for things like the Impressionist exhibitions, which would soon revolutionize the art world. It showed that artists could challenge the established order and find an audience for their work, even if they were initially rejected by the tastemakers and critics. The legacy of the Salon des Refusés extends far beyond the 19th century. It serves as a reminder that artistic innovation often faces resistance, but that true creativity cannot be suppressed. It's a testament to the power of artists to challenge conventions and forge their own paths. And it's a reminder that sometimes the most important art is the art that dares to be different. This concludes this week's episode of Who Arted, part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. If you found this tolerable, please leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. You can find images of the work being discussed this week and every week on social media at Who Arted Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and of course on the website whoartedpodcast.com. Podcast done.